Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Meadsy69. Now, in today's video, we're going to talk about a touchy subject. None of the replays featured today has anything to do with the video. I just wanted to put a couple of replays over the top of me rambling on. So, yesterday's video, I talked about matchmaking. What was the issue with it? What's not the issue with it, how they can sort it, or what they shouldn't do. Now, today we're going to be talking about how update 5.5 has made the game a little bit worse than it was. So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. When update 5.5 and all the lower tier tech tree changes come into place, I got asked an awful lot what I thought about the removal of all the lower tiers. And at the time, to be honest, it didn't really affect me and it didn't really bother me. All I cared about with all the collectible tanks, all the premiums going into collectibles, was getting my 30,000 gold, because I don't really play lower tier. So at that time, it didn't really affect me, and to be honest, it didn't really bother me. There is a few changes that I did love about 5.5, but the removal of all the lower tier tanks, in my opinion, even though it didn't affect me because I don't really play the lower tier, it wasn't really necessary. And I didn't really look, when people asked me what I thought about it, I didn't really look at the bigger picture. So when they said, what do you think of the lower tier removals, it's just like, meh, it doesn't really bother me. But having played the game for a couple more updates, well, 2 updates coming on to 3, I have noticed a big change, and that is my win rate. So I have 50,000 battles. I was on 64.79%, and over the last month or so, I've dropped 0.9%. Now that doesn't sound a lot, and it isn't a lot, but 0.9% over 50,000 battles, that is a lot. Now, put it into perspective. For me to drop 0.1% win rate, I have to lose around about 10 battles, 15 battles in a row. That's just to lose 0.1%. I've lost 0.9%. So I have been losing an awful lot more. And I have been seeing a lot more 40% players, sometimes even lower, in higher tier. And the bigger picture is, because of the removal of the lower tier tanks, instead of having 4 different tank types or 4 different tiers to grind, you might have a German tier, you might have 4 tier 3s to grind. Obviously, Wargaming has changed that, so there's only one line to grind. And because of that, now, that in general, I don't mind. If there's only one line to grind, fine, there's only one line to grind. But that just means the new players, or the newbie players, are going to grind up the lines a lot quicker. And I mean a lot quicker. So, fair enough, if they want to change the lower tier and remove the lower tiers, fine. But at least make it so it's harder and it takes longer to get the next tier tank. So if you're in tier 3, for example, instead of having to grind 50,000 XP for a tier 4, they now have to grind 100,000 XP. That's just an example how it should be. Whereas the XP for the next tank still remains the same. It just means all the new players are only going to grind one line. For me, when I first started the game, it took me thousands of battles to get a tier 10, because I literally grinded all the different lines. I'd grinded 3 or 4 different tier 3s at the same time, 3 or 4 different tier 4s, and each tier or each tank in the tier were different. So you wasn't just playing a German tier 3 medium like you are now and then have to go to German tier 4. You could drive a German tier 3 medium, a German tier 3 TD. It was all different. And because of that, now the newbies, the new players, are grinding up the lines so much more quicker without even knowing the game as such. They haven't learned the game, and already they're up to tier 6 or tier 5 or tier 7. And I've just seen it so much often, and I do now understand what the players are concerned about or annoyed about, because there is an awful lot of bad players, especially in tier 10, and not only in tier 10 but premium tanks. So there's a lot of things people have said what they can do, what wargaming can do, and a lot of it I do disagree with. So people have been saying, make it so you can't get tier 10 or tier 8, 9 without having a certain amount of battles or without being a certain win rate. Now, the battles I can understand about. So each tier could be locked, and you can only unlock that tier after a number amount of battles, which I think is a good idea. That really is a good idea. But then the other thing you've got is premium tanks. Wargaming are bringing in more and more premium tanks, and these premium tanks range from tier 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can start a new account, especially over Christmas. I can start a new account and I can go and buy a 121B for 20,000 gold. So without having any battles, I can go and get myself a tier 10. And that is what people have been doing. So my idea to Wargaming, and I've put this to Wargaming, we've spoke to Wargaming, we've had a meeting with Wargaming in person at Tankfest. We had a one-to-one meeting with Wargaming and we gave them ideas. Now, one thing what they could do, which they haven't done, is tutorials. So each tier they unlock, or each different tank types, they could watch a video in the game that shows you how to side scrape, shows you how to hold down, shows you what medium tanks are good for, shows you what TDs are good for, or heavy tanks or light tanks, or all different. But there's none of that in the game. Now, when we went to Tankfest, they had Wotb PC there, and they had a big massive screen, and on that screen was a heavy tank hold down, and it was teaching you how to hold down. That was it said how to hold down on the big screen. Now, why can't they do that in Blitz? Why can't they do these little videos? It doesn't have to be long, 30 seconds, 40 seconds long. Us contributors have already told Wargaming that we are happy to do these videos as long as they're going to add them in game. So you watch a video, you unlock a tier 6 or a tier 5, you watch a video and you get yourself 50 gold or 100 gold for watching that video, etc. So things like that Wargaming can add, and I'm not sure why they won't add. The other thing what I recommend, and I've said this all along, is with the premium tanks, people are just buying premium tanks. They're starting the game buying a tier 8 premium tank, and they are going to be 30 to 40%, and they're going to get so much credits, they're going to get tier 10s so much quicker. So what I think they should do is, you can't stop, they can't stop 40%, 30% players buying premium tanks, because it's just a no-go. Because it's it's a business. They need to earn this business. So what I recommended is, you can only buy a premium tank for the tier they're on in the tech tree. So if you're only up until tier 4 on a tech tree, you can only buy a tier 4 premium. Once you reach tier 5 in the tech tree, you can buy tier 5. Tier 6, you can buy tier 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So new players or almost new players, they're not going to be able to buy a tier 10 premium tank until they have actually unlocked a tier 10 tech tree. Now, for me, I think this will help a lot. It really will help a lot, along with the tutorials in the game. But overall, the tech tree changes has made the game a lot worse. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the game, but it is just getting so much worse the further we go on. And that is why I just wanted to do this little video, just to say that I am with you guys. I'm not with Wargaming. I don't agree with everything they say. And for this subject, I do think the removal of the lower tier tech trees just wasn't needed. But I hope you enjoyed this short video and I explained it. But for now, I'm Meadsy69 and I'll catch you soon.